hospitality trade shows, growth home run or ROI strikeout. Many suppliers and vendors are investing heavily in trade shows and want to up their game. So I have a panel of hospitality all-stars here to swing for the fences. I got David Millili with LodgIQ, Nick Horgan at Amaze Insights, and my teammate, Susan Tucker at Lure Agency. You won't want to miss this one for the bombs and overplayed baseball references. Let's go. How y'all doing?
So excited to be here. And at first I thought I was going to be sitting down with Justin Timberlake, but I realized I'm even luckier than that because I have Cory Falter, Susan Tucker, and David Millili. So you know what? I wouldn't have wanted to settle for just Justin when I was invited to be on the InnSync podcast. I thought it was InnSync. So excited to be here.
You know, Jess Hayes was bummed because she dropped that same line. She goes, I'm bummed Justin didn't show up for me. So
says not the same line. I said I'm even more excited because I'm with much bigger stars than Justin Timberlake. So let's just be clear. Jess is great, but my joke was different.
Not only was that a great intro, you introduced everybody, so you took my job completely off the table. That's fantastic.
That's what I like to do.
So welcome to the show, boys, and partner Susan Tucker. So as you guys know, everybody's excited. We're ramped up for, is there a trade show conference season, by the way? It's June. I think that kicks things off, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I mean, in hospitality, trade show season is pretty much the entire year.
Oh,
so
okay.
Where I've seen David out on the road. We were just in New York together at the ILC Independent Lodging Congress. So that was super fun and exciting. It really does go throughout the entire year, but June is when really two of the big ones are co-located. So we can call that trade show season if you want.
Okay, great. We are going to talk about awesome trade show tactics. And here's a quick setup. You know, as we're entering this new season, so many suppliers and vendors are still heavily invested in in-person events, but some are wondering how they can get more bang for their buck. It's a huge investment, could be tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're an enterprise level company. So I've brought on a panel of these rock stars to discuss this important topic. As Nick had mentioned, we've got David Millili from LodgIQ, Nick Horgan, Amaze Insights, my partner Susan Tucker from Lure Agency. And before we get rolling here, hopefully you guys got a chance to watch that last episode of InnSync. We had this incredible, this guest, Phoebe, on. She dropped some very interesting bombs about trade shows. I have a feeling a lot of companies are still running with those.
She did, and she looks a little bit like Susan. I just noticed, just as I'm here right here, that just is the most amazing part about it. So just a little tiny bit like her.
Oh no.
Hey now, wait a minute.
Grandmother. Somebody always looks like somebody.
I mean, I get told I look like a lot of different people, you know?
For sure.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a round robin here, and we are going to I'm going to ask each one of you, starting with David, what is your single best tip as we're rolling into high tech?
Yeah, so for me, I like to tell the story. When I became CEO of Pegasus, it was early June, right before high tech in 2012. After I was there, watched the salespeople, watched the engagement, kind of got into what was the planning, what went into it. Then in the following year, in March, I went to ITB and I got to engage with that group and the European sales team. And the differences really were around just this concept of stop by the booth, which really isn't a very good approach to spending the money for a trade show, spending the money for a booth. So the US sales team was really about, hey, stop by the booth, we're going to be here, blah, blah, blah. The European sales team was like, look, you can come by the booth, but if you don't have an appointment, I'll wave to you. You can grab a cup of coffee from the machine, but I'm booked. So I've actually been with people, European salespeople, 2-day events where they've booked 25 meetings. And they don't know the notion of stop by the booth. They're like, this, you either have an appointment or I'll say hi to you and then I go to my appointment. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned And I've tried to instill that in my sales teams, where don't just show up and hope. Everybody, wants to get the list ahead of time, but the planning really has to take, Nick was saying before, that 6 months out, the planning is what's key if you're going to invest in having a booth and being at a show.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Good one. I'm going to pass this off to you, Nick. I'm sure you got a few things up your sleeve, particularly. So
and looking at, so David, who really knows what he's talking about, I really like to have the idea of setting the plan far enough in advance that you see the right people and engagement. And to me, the biggest way to get the most bang for the buck is personal connection and networking. So for instance, I have a good friend who is most likely throwing the greatest event high tech has ever seen. So David Millili, which not everyone is invited, so I have to be a little careful on this, but it's a VIP event with Microsoft, Hover, SHR, and I know Enterprise Ireland, and Jonas Hospitality. Did I cover all of them?
Yes, I think you did. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So really great group of companies, and they rented out the entire Truist Field ballpark, where people are going to be able to do batting practice and do things. So my favorite event that I have attended was actually not one of my own, even though I've hosted my own. It was last year, where David also hosted an event with the Stanley Cup. And that was a chance for me to be with my brother, Lee Horgan. And for the two of us who have been lifelong hockey fans, we got a picture with the Stanley Cup and we were able to send that to our mom. So something like that, where did it drive business? No, it didn't. But it was still my favorite thing I did at High Tech. But I also got to spend some time with some really exceptional people there and do that. And that's what you'll find is the ability to mix in experiences and fun will drive business. So the companies that truly think out, like not just, we're going to do a cocktail, come by and do this, but They really think out, like, I want this to be memorable and do something that hasn't been done. So for instance, Jason, the CEO of Hover, he's going to have a bat at David's event where people can hit and go through there. So things like that, where you're doing something that's unique and different, allows you to stand out. So what you'll see is a lot of companies are going to do press releases around high tech. And unless the news is really, really big that people are going to take note of, like for instance, when a tiny company called Amaze Insights landed Ambridge right before high tech and then release that news, like that gets a little bit of traction. But if it's just like a general press release, it's actually not necessarily the best time to do it because it gets buried with what everyone else is doing. So that's my thought on just really think out. And if you are going to be in the booth, make sure you're open and engaging and you have exciting things to talk about, because that's really what everyone's going to be doing. So those are that's not a single tip, which is what you asked for, but sometimes I like to add a little extra.
No, that was a double. How about that for a baseball?
I usually like to go for a home run, but that's all right.
Well, hey.
Yeah, we have to give credit. Michael Cohen was actually the mastermind behind both events. And I think it holds true with everyone coming out of COVID, where you're looking for experiences versus what you did before. So now you see everyone's trying to do unique trips. And that was the whole theme behind these events, where do something that's going to be memorable versus just having a piece of shrimp and a gin and tonic.
Your co-founder, Michael Cohen, he really is good at doing exactly that. So, and look at you giving credit to him instead of just having the entire event right on your shoulders, David. What makes you one of the things that makes you great at what you do. That and the fancy new haircut you have.
Nice. Hey, and by the way, your nice little drop of Amaze Insights was a beautiful organic.
Oh, did I do that?
Very nice, by the way.
That happens to be the best reporting system that's out there, just by the way.
Oh, really? I've never really heard of Amaze Insights until I saw those videos that you popped up.
Those were really well shot. Lure Agencies actually who partnered with me on that.
Oh my gosh! So. Wow. Incredibly, I know exactly now what Amaze Insights does and the entire story behind that. I was surprised you didn't drop Tom Cruise on this one. So you're spreading out the love.
I like to change it up every so often.
Another baseball reference. There you go. Fantastic. So we're going to hand this one off. Thank you, Nick. Over to Susan. Hey, Susan, I know you got something a little bit different for us. What is your tip, by the way?
So I'm going to lead with a tip that is maybe a little bit of a combined idea of what you guys have. So not everybody has the budget to rent out a field, and not everybody is well known enough to have their appointments completely booked out the entire time. So I'm thinking about these newcomers that are coming in and they're just trying to make a name for themselves. How do they not get hidden in all of the hoobaloo of the event? Everybody's like, book an appointment, book an appointment, book an appointment. If nobody knows you, they're not going to book an appointment. So my tip is to lead with value, not a sales pitch, in a sense that you want to, rather than say, hey, book an appointment, for example, we are working with a client who is offering an event survival kit. So what they are going to do is they are dropping videos leading up to the event. Here's a tip to survive high tech. And every week they're going to drop a video with some actual tips leading with value. And then when they get to the event, the call to action is to stop by and actually grab some survival goodies. They're not going to give away the same old pin or whatever it is that everybody's giving out these days. They're going to give some things that are actually of value to survive the event. So we just think that they're combining a little bit of the online, using LinkedIn, leading up to the event, and leading with value, and then stop by for something other than book an appointment. Just stop by to grab something, and then, hey, maybe we'll start a conversation and you can get to know us. That's my tip.
That's awesome. Great. And by the way, I want to mention the name actually lends itself to this kind of strategic tactical theme that we've got going on. So there's some legs to it. No pun, but great one, Susan. Great tip. Now, I love David's hint about being a little bit more thoughtful and strategic. Now, shocker, I'm going to come to this game working in a little bit of LinkedIn into this. For my event, this is what I try to do. I've kind of tightened this up a little bit, but to go to the event to be more intentional. It's so overwhelming. You walk into those doors, there's so much going on. You really don't have a place to start. So I have a great tip for those that are crazy about LinkedIn, and that is to do some pre and some post work with the event, bookends this. And this one tip I have is just 1 week prior to the event, get the attendees list, review that, pick out 25 people that you want to meet at the event. Go through that list, see who you're connected with already. If you're not connected with those on that list, you want to send a personalized invitation to them, never a blind request, something that just simply says, hey, I noticed that you're connected with David or Nick or Susan. We have some similar interests. We'd really love to engage with you. To get all of those connection requests on that list up to a point where you're connected with them. Next is write a script that says something to the fact, I'm going to be at High Tech. I would love to meet up with you. Write that script and then use LinkedIn's voice audio feature. Drop a quick, short note to all 25 of those people. Just something personalized, short, sweet. Hey, I'd love to meet up with you in person, grab a drink, start some conversation. More chances than not, they're going to respond. I don't know if you guys have gotten those audio.
I have gotten one of those from Cory Falter, as a matter of fact. It was the first one I'd ever gotten. And I was like,
imagine that.
And it was actually the audio message. And then Celeste, who some of you on LinkedIn will know as well, also sent one. So that's where I realized I need to up my LinkedIn game and add the audio component as well. So that's great advice, Cory. And you do use it. Now, I don't feel quite as special now that I know you're scripting these and sending them to 24 people in addition to me, but it still worked on me. So
not that one to you.
Oh, so they're saying I really am special. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
So keying in on that, what I have used in sales processes before is super short videos and send like a video clip to someone instead of leaving a message. And that can be really effective. So if you're comfortable with video, even if you don't have professionals like the Lure agency that are going to shoot and do the sound for you, just a super fast from your phone, because the video on our phones now, it is so high quality that it really can work.
Absolutely. Well, however, as you guys know, a lot of people in hospitality are not quite up to the video game yet. There's an intimidation factor. So the audio is almost like a nice basic step, and it's already on your phone. It's in LinkedIn. You're already connected with them. Everything that your activities stand in LinkedIn. You're not jumping off to another device. But as we've talked about, video is going to transform sales. Period.
And Cory, you talked a lot about LinkedIn. So if you happen to be at 10:30 a.m. on Thursday, I heard there's actually going to be a session on LinkedIn.
Nice.
David promised me he's going to be there and talk about on the Modern Hotelier.
I think that's Nick's third plug. So
That's my second. My third one's coming up next.
Okay.
I should have disclaimered this, man. You beat me to the punch.
Hey, to be
So-
fair,
I usually try not to do it,
all of
but here's for real. I don't want to be presenting to an empty room, like out there just up on top of the stage with like the chairs out there. So I'm counting on at least David to be out there so I can chat with him at least.
I'll bring remember how they had the cutouts at the stadiums during COVID? I'll bring a bunch of those and just
That would be
Nice.
actually
That would
awesome.
actually be great. That would be next.
Honestly, that would probably drive more than having real people there because the video from it that Susan and Cory can pull together would be pretty epic. So make it happen. Since Cory's not willing to come, you can do a cutout of him too.
Yeah.
Nick, God, I'm getting, man, a peer pressure. I got to roll out my family as the get out of jail card free, which is not a lie, by the way, because Susan and I are both dealing with graduation situations right now. So
Yeah, those were. I already saw Susan's awesome picture, and then I also saw congratulations, your daughter's going to SDSU, so go Aztecs. I saw that with your post right on LinkedIn.
thank you. Not surprising, we're totally off topic here. So I digress. So to wrap up my tip, so once you've done that, and naturally you're going to get a response, and hopefully you can make pre-plans to get there. Once you get to the event and you have these great, amazing conversations, oftentimes you can get some of that small talk out of the way and be a little bit more strategic when you do that on LinkedIn. After the event, when you come back, do the exact same thing. Make a mental note of every person that you saw, you had a conversation with. 2 days after you get back from the event, drop them another audio message. Hey, it was great to see you. Great conversation. Maybe add just a little bit of tidbit of what you talked about. And then you could say, hey, maybe we can further the discussion on Zoom, phone call. Great way to build a relationship and transition that to the next level. So that was my tip for a little strategic planning for trade shows. So
Awesome.
thank you. Appreciate that. So both of you guys are going to
So High Tech, and it's co-located with HSMAI Commercial Strategy, which is also a fantastic event. And there's a really great list of speakers for both High Tech and HSMAI Commercial Strategy. And honestly, that's one of the biggest challenges that I'll have is looking at between the two events, which it's great. They're in the same convention center. I'll be bouncing between the two, and there's so many people I want to see speak, and I'm sure some of those will conflict. So setting the plan really will be a challenge. Both events typically are really well attended and great.
Awesome. Any advice, quick drops that you guys want to buy for High Tech coming up? What are you guys looking forward to at High Tech? Anything in particular?
I think the game event at the baseball stadium, obviously we cover that a bunch. And that's why I'm in this business. I love people. I love to travel. I've been to Charlotte to see the baseball stadium. This will be my first time really kind of hanging out in Charlotte. So for me, I'm just looking forward to seeing friends and colleagues. That's really, for me, that's the big thing.
That's awesome. So, and I know HSMAI Commercial Strategy, I was on earlier with Lindsay Kreitzer and from GF Management. She's going to do This Revenue Doesn't Look Like the Other. I may have butchered the name of it, but that's at HSMAI Commercial Strategy. Really excited about that. And Bart Berkey will be 9 a.m. on the first day of High Tech. He's doing Most People Don't, But You Do is his general theme, and he's one of the speakers. And I'm really excited about a lot of the other speakers as well. But those are two that I have blocked that I really want to see, just because in my engagements with them, they've been people I've been super interested to learn from. So I'm super excited about those two and the area, and my embarrassment at the GAIN event. Really looking forward to that, because I'm willing to put myself out there. And even if I do strike out, I'm willing to have that video, and I'll post it right on LinkedIn for Cory and Susan, so you guys will be able to see it while you're at your graduation parties.
And the baseball references are coming out of left field.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ba-dum-bum.
Dad.
Totally, right? So bad. Yeah. Guilty of that. Well, awesome conversation, which I knew it would be. And can't wait to maybe have a follow-up conversation on this. In fact, I'd love to get some reflections after you guys get back. And thanks again for your time. And we'll chat with you guys soon.
Thank you. Really great to be here.
Right on.